Welcome back. If this is your first time joining us, you may want to listen to the earlier episodes this season. They build a foundation for how we think about privacy and security. And if you're returning, thank you for being here again. Let's move into today's episode. Passwords, why they still exist, and how to stop fighting them. Welcome back to Quietly Secure, the podcast about digital privacy, personal security, and staying informed without getting overwhelmed. Last episode, we talked about digital identity, the version of you that exists as data and how systems learn to recognize you over time. Today, we're talking about one of the oldest parts of online security, passwords. Everyone dislikes them, everyone forgets them, and every few years we're told they're about to disappear. And yet, they're still here. This episode isn't about creating impossible to remember strings or turning security into a full-time job. It's about understanding what passwords actually do, why they fail so often, and how to use them in a way that quietly works without constant frustration. So, what are passwords really for? We tend to think passwords prove who we are, but that's not really true. A password doesn't identify you, it only proves that you know a secret. That's an important difference. Systems don't recognize you, they recognize possession of the correct information. And passwords were designed in a much simpler era, when computers were shared by small groups of trusted users, not by billions of people connected globally. Back then, a password was enough. Today, attackers don't try to guess you. They test stolen passwords automatically at massive scale. Which means most password problems aren't personal failures, they're structural ones. Passwords weren't built or intended for the massively connected world we now live in. So, there's three main reasons passwords go wrong. The first reason, reuse. Humans are consistent. We reuse passwords because remembering dozens of unique ones is unrealistic. But once one service is breached, reused passwords allow attackers to unlock multiple accounts without doing any extra work. Second is predictability. Even strong-looking passwords often follow patterns. Capital letters, words, numbers, symbols. Attack tools know this. They don't guess randomly, they guess intelligently. The third reason is memory limits. Security advisors often ask people to behave like machines. Long strings, frequent changes, never write anything down. The result? People create systems they can barely manage, and eventually something breaks. So the real issue isn't that people are careless, it's that the model expects too much from human memory. Here's the surprising part. Passwords are no longer your main defense. They're just the first door. Most important services now combine passwords with other signals, your device, your location patterns, two-factor authentication, and behavioural consistency. Remember when we discussed about digital identity? A password starts the conversation. Other signals decide whether systems trust the login. That's why sometimes you enter the correct password and still get asked for verification. The system isn't doubting your memory, it's checking continuity. Passwords today are less about perfect secrecy and more about slowing attackers down long enough for other protections to work. So, how do we live with passwords without stress? Not by trying harder, by changing strategy. First, stop relying on memory. Password managers exist because humans aren't meant to remember dozens of secrets. Let the software handle uniqueness. Second, prioritize importance. Your email, banking, and primary accounts deserve strong, unique passwords and definitely two-factor authentication. A one-time forum account does not need the same mental energy. Third, think in terms of damage control. Security isn't about preventing every breach. It's about making sure that one mistake doesn't become 10. Unique passwords quietly contain problems where they happen. And finally, long beats complicated. A longer passphrase is usually safer and easier to live with than a short, complex string. Security should reduce stress, not create it. Passwords aren't going away tomorrow, but they also aren't carrying security alone anymore. When you understand their real role, they stop feeling like an endless chore and start becoming just one small part of a larger system working in your favour. You don't need perfection. You don't need to memorise chaos. You just need a system that works reliably in the background for you. In the next episode, we'll look at authentication beyond passwords, using passkeys, biometrics, and what the future of logging in might actually look like. Until then, stay curious, stay calm, and stay quietly secure.